Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. Recently I did the nature book tag and was a little bit dissatisfied with my responses to the prompts because the questions were sort of open-ended in a way that did not necessarily lend themselves to answers that especially dealt with nature, especially for a person such as myself who does not have a strong reading history. Every day that I'm on BookTube making videos, I realize that I am at a severe handicap as compared to other readers of my age who started reading when they were young, in college perhaps, and kept up a strong, diligent reading practice the whole time. I did not. I have read only little bits in dribs and drabs here and there, and only for the last 2 years or so have really been trying to up my game as far as reading. That said, I did manage to read things that meant a lot to me. I did not always get what I wanted, so to speak, but I almost invariably got what I needed, to paraphrase the famous Mick Jagger song. So this was the volume of Gerard, Manley, Hopkins that I had for many years when I was young. Now, it was not this exact copy. It was a mass market paperback edition with a different cover to this one, but it served me well. I consider Hopkins to be the nature poet par excellence, perhaps explicitly because of a couple of poems which he wrote. I will link my readings of those poems in the description box if indeed I made readings of those, which I suspect I did. I can't imagine that I would not have done so, including the one expressing his dismay and outrage is not the right word, his sheer incredulity that the poplar grove had been cut down. Of course, those poplars having been felled, the sound of that felling resonates right into our own times with crystal clarity. But I would like to read something else. This book fortunately had poems and prose, and there was a passage in here which has stuck with me. I don't think I've really gone back to this since I read this as a very young man. The poems I did, indeed. But I often kept my eyes out. I thought, I'll look for a comprehensive volume of Hopkins's prose writings, and one has never come across my path. I don't know that one exists. This is an excerpt, or an extract, they say, from a Platonic dialogue titled On the Origin of Beauty. It says 1865. This style of dialogue writing must have been popular. It has resonances of, say, Oscar Wilde. At the time, I had never read Oscar Wilde. If you're going to do a book of philosophy, indeed, why not do it in dialogue form? It makes any topic, any of discussion, just so much easier to read through. Now, this book includes about 14 pages of this extract, and there is no way that I can read the whole thing. And so I will just read the beginning couple of pages from this. It's, as I say, it has stayed in my mind ever since. It was at the beginning of the long vacation, and Oxford was nearly empty. The professor of the newly founded chair of aesthetics, whose lectures had been unattended during the term, came one day in the evening to New College Gardens and found John Hanbury, a scholar of the college, walking there. They knew each other and had taken 2 or 3 turns under the chestnuts together, when a stranger came up to them and asked if these were Worcester Gardens. "This is New College," said Hanbury. "May I direct you to Worcester?" "No," the stranger said. He had only wished to know the name, and then, showing a sketching block, he asked if there would be any objection to his sketching there. "Not at all," said Hanbury. "Shall I bring a chair? My rooms are close by." He always drew standing, he said, and Hanbury and the professor moved away. "What was that paradox I heard of yours?" asked the professor. "About criticism it was." "Oh, it was nothing," said Hanbury, drawing back. "But let me hear it defended. Everybody likes a good paradox. The Frenchman said the marriage tie was in every case a bad thing, for if the married tired of each other, it bound them together against their will, and if they did not, it was superfluous. I like that. Do not you?" "But mine is not a good paradox," said Hanbury. "It is hardly one at all. At all events, I do not see how to avoid the conclusion it brings me to. I was saying that in poetry, purely common sense criticism was not enough by itself. That is true, is it not?" "Certainly." "And criticism is not advocacy. It is rather judicial, is it not?" "Judicial it should be." "And judgments depend on laws, on established laws. Now, taste has few rules, and those not scientific and easily disputed, and, I might add, often disputed. Am I right?" "At least, go on," said the professor. "If a man disputes your judgment in taste, how can you prove he is wrong? If a man thinks beautiful what you think bad, you must believe he is sincere when he tells you so. And if he is educated, how are you to say that his judgment is worse than yours? In fact, de gustibus non est disputandum." "One mustn't argue about tastes," says the footnote. "Criticism, therefore, in matters of taste cannot be judicial, and purely common sense criticism is not enough, we agreed. So criticism in matters of taste has no weight at all. That was it. Do not be severe on it." "I will respect it, my dear Hanbury. I will respect it, though I do not quite think you have proved your point. However, I will not answer you directly, for do you know I am not so sure about de gustibus, which is going further back." "Indeed," said Hanbury. "Well, if you think there are ascertainable laws, I should be glad of it for one. For when one is morally sure that one is right, it is a pity not to be able to refer to a logical ground for one's belief." "I have my theory," said the professor, "but I am afraid—" "Do let me hear it," said Hanbury. "I shall be a disciple, I am sure." "My first," said the professor, "it will be then. But may I pursue the Socratic method? May I take up the dialectic battledore which you have just laid down?" "The dialectic battledore, do you call it? I shall be so glad to be what is that called now? I have been about 13 years out of the nursery. The shuttlecock, of course, to be the shuttlecock to it. Now, where shall I begin, said the professor. I will begin here. And he pulled off one of the large, lowest fans of the chestnuts. Do you think this beautiful? That, the chestnut fan? Certainly. I have always thought the chestnut one of the most finely foliaged of trees. You see, it consists of 7 leaves, the middle largest diminishing towards the stalk, so that those nearest the stalk are smallest. I see, said Hanbury. I had never noticed there were 7 before. Now, if we look about, we shall find, yes, there is one. There is a fan, do you see, with only 6 leaves. Nature is irregular in these things. Can you reach it? Now, which do you think the more beautiful, the one with 6 or the one with 7 leaves? Shut out, if you can, the remembrance that the 6-leaved one is an anomaly or imperfection. Consider it symmetrical. Well, I dare say the 6-leaved one may improve the foliage by variety, but in themselves the 7-leaved one is the handsomer. Just so, said the professor, but could you give any reason? I suppose, as they are like in all other respects, it is that 7 is a prettier number than 6, and that would agree with the mystical character attached to the number 7. Yes, but let me understand, said the professor. Now, is 101 a prettier number than 100? 101? I do not know. No, I think 100 is. No, of course, in fact, it depends on 100 or 101 of what? Suppose, then, I had 2 great chestnut fans, one with 100, one with 101, 101 leaves. Which would be the handsomer? You will say you could not tell till you saw them. But now, following the arrangements of these 6-leaved and 7-leaved fans, in the 100-leaved, there would be 50 radiating leaves on either side and a gap in the middle. In the 101-leaved, 50 on either side and one, the greatest, in the middle. Do you see? Perfectly. And I think the 101-leaved, or in fact, the odd-leaved one, whatever its number of leaves, would be the handsomer. Not, as you seem to show, from the abstract excellence of an odd number, but because, well, I suppose because to have the greatest leaf in the middle is the handsomer way. But which is the more symmetrical, asked the professor. Is not the 6-leaved one? Both have symmetry, yet, as you say, the 6-leaved one seems the more so, supposing it, of course, to be really symmetrical, which this specimen is not. Is not this, asked the professor, because it is naturally divided into 2 equal parts of 3 leaves each, while the 7-leaved is not and cannot be symmetrical in the same way unless we physically cut the greatest leaf down the middle? Yes, that is it, I see, said Hanbury. And so you judge the less markedly symmetrical to be the handsomer. Still, the 7-leaved one has much symmetry. But now look at the tree from which I pulled it. Do you like it better as it is, or would you have the boughs start from the trunk at the same height on opposite sides, symmetrically pair and pair? As it is, certainly. Or again, look at the coloring of the sky. But, put in Hanbury, coloring is not a thing of symmetry. No, but now what is symmetry? Is it not regularity? I should say the greatest regularity, said Hanbury. So it is. But is it not that sort of regularity which is measured by length and breadth and thickness? Music, for instance, might be regular, but not symmetrical ever. Is it not so? Quite so, said Hanbury. Let us say regularity then. The sky, you see, is blue above, then comes a pale, indescribable hue, and then the red of the sundown. You admire it, do you not? Very much, said Hanbury. But the red is the richest color, is it not? Now it is, yes. Should you then like the whole sky to be of one uniform rich red? Certainly not. Or the red and blue to end sharply with a straight line without anything as a go-between? No, I like the gradation. Again, then you approve of variety over absolute uniformity. And variety is opposed to regularity, is it not? While uniformity is regularity. Is it not so? Certainly. I am to conclude, then, that beauty is produced by irregularity, said Hanbury. Ah, you run on very fast, said the professor. I never said that. Once more, if you please, I must send my shuttlecock up to the sky. You will no doubt, with your feathers of vantage, see better than I can, considering how my view is cut off by the buildings of the college, that rows of level cloud run along the west of the sky. At all events, said he, I can see them. Do you think they would be better away? Asked the professor. No, they add to the beauty of the sunset sky. Notice, however, that they are pretty symmetrical. They are straight and parallel with the skyline and with each other, and of a uniform color, and other things in them are symmetrical. Should you admire them more if they were shapeless? I think not, said Hanbury. Again, when we say anyone has regular features, do we mean praise or blame? Praise. We were speaking of the chestnut trees, of their unsymmetrical growth. Now, is the oak an unsymmetrical tree? Very much so. Oh, quite a rugged, boldly irregular tree. And this, I should say, was one of the things which make us invest it with certain qualities it has in poetry and in popular and national sentiment, said Hanbury. Very observant. You mean, of course, when it grows at liberty, rather than when influenced by confinement, cutting, and so forth. Yes, what I say will, of course, be truest of the tree when uninfluenced by man. And so the dialogue continues on for many more pages than that. And I've never seen the original unpared down essay or dialogue itself, and still would like to. As I say now in retrospect, it has reminiscences of those great dialogues by Oscar Wilde. But I just read this to point out that Hopkins was a poet whose heightened awareness of nature was, as I say, par excellence, I believe, probably superior to that of Wordsworth, who, I hear tell, was picking up little tidbits of ideas from his sister here and there. So I will leave that there. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.